What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be teaching you how to pull a Subaru engine. This is my 1998 coupe, L coupe, that I've been working on for the past couple months. I had wrecked originally this sedan, and I just swapped everything out. All the harness and everything all into this. And I got the end motor in, got it started and running, but I'm getting no clutch engagement, so we're going to be swapping out the clutch today. And this is everything I've swapped over. The first thing you want to do when you're removing an engine is take out the batteries. Always either unplug it or just take it out entirely, because when you're messing with electrical work like the starter and stuff, you don't want to arc yourself out. That's just not going to be a good time. Then second, in a Subaru, always remove the radiator. It'll make your life so much easier. Remove the radiator. You don't have to remove the heater core. It's not needed. Take out your AC compressor. Move it to the side so you don't have to bleed your lines, do your AC lines, heat everything again. And then power steering pump. You could technically just undo this line or this hose if you don't really mind bleeding your pump again, because it is work to take both of them out. But I mean, if you're doing one side, you might as well do the other. So it's not too hard. It's just a couple bolts down there, and then just take off the accessory belt, and then it should be able to come out. And then you just move them to the side. There's two bolts here. And then you want to undo your harness. Usually on the RSs or the Legacy or Imprezas, you will have your harness on the left side, and there's only about like 4 plugs, so it's not too bad. Next up is fuel lines. Always remember which one it is, because sometimes you're going to be forgetting. Your return lines and then your feed lines too for your fuel rails. And then next up is we're going to be taking out the throttle cable. If you have a drive-by wire, you're going to be taking out, I don't know if you have to take out the plug, but you just unplug it, or in this case it's drive-by cable. You just unhook the cable. Next up is we're going to be taking out the starter, because there's 2 bolts holding the starter together to the bell housing of the trans and the engine together. And then you could take out your clutch slave cylinder too, just so it makes it more accessible in there. You don't really need to, but it'd just be advised. And then pitch stop, so that way you'll be able to jack the transmission up and down, because you will have to do that. And then moving on, you can't forget your 2 engine mounts on the bottom. It's just 2 nuts right beside the headers. And then take the exhaust off, move it out the way, so that way we'll be able to jack everything all out of the cherry picker. So what I've done so far is taking the radiator out, taking the AC compressor. Since I don't have any power steering fluid in this thing anyway, since I swapped it, I'm going to just undo this banjo bolt, do the hose, 2 bolts here, and then this just flips over. I'm not going to take the pump out. But to take the pump out, if you need to, it's going to be 2 bolts in the back holding it in, 1 down there, and then you just loosen this. Yep, and then 1 down there as well. And then for the AC compressor, to loosen the pulley system, undo this nut. It holds this roller in place on the belt, and then just zip this. And it goes up or down. It controls it to go up or down. And then to get the compressor off, it's two studs there, and then this one here, which holds the front fairing together, holds it to the alternator, and they should pop out. And of course, don't forget to unplug your harnesses, clips for the alternator, the signal wire, ground wire, plugs, all that. And then we're almost there. So if you're having trouble taking the AC compressor out, it's just these two bolts up here, and then there's three down here. Just one that's holding the AC compressor together. 1, 2. These two are easy to get to. That one you have to use like a swivel head joint socket. They're all 14, so that's about it. And then this thing's free. And then take off the fuel lines. Let's take the starter out, bell housing bolts, engine mount. We're ready to pull the motor. Okay, got AC compressor disconnected, fuel lines disconnected. Next, I'm gonna do a throttle cable. So pretty much it's just two nuts holding it together. So you just undo one, comes off, should slide right out. There's two, so make sure you can tighten them back up whenever you're done. But yeah, in order for it to go, you have to tighten it all the way down to this little divot here, and then screw it onto the other side. Then it slides right out. And then this is the easy part too. It just combs over like that. And there you go. Throttle disconnected. And then just throw everything to the side. Next up, I'm gonna work on the starter, clutch slave cylinder, pitch mount, take off the exhaust and headers, and mount up whatever to the hoist. And be careful with gas too, because you don't want that spraying everywhere, so just have cloth around you or something so it's still got all up. Okay, so for the starter, you want to take off the ground wire for the starter. There's two bell housing bolts that holds the starter in to the trans into the engine. There's one right there on the bottom and one up top. And then right here we got one nut right there, and there's another bolt right there on top of it. I don't know if you see it right there behind the axle. They're all 14 millimeters. And then I'm gonna take off the headers. It's just straightforward, 3 nuts on each side, and then motor mounts. There's right by the sway bars, right there, and then another one's right in this middle of this headers. If you take it off, you'll be able to better access it. I don't know if you can see it, but it's in there. I'm gonna take it off and hook up the motor to the cherry picker. And these were the top ones that I was talking about. Was one there, another one down there. These are easier to get to. It's just the ones behind the axles are a pain in the butt. Unless you take the axles out, it'll be easier, but a lot of work. Okay, so I got all the bell housing bolts out of the car. Everything's up. You can already see the engine's already starting to split from the block, or the transmission from the block. See a little bit of it starting to split off. I don't know if you can see it there, but it's starting to separate. So that's a good thing, so we don't have to struggle so much to pop it off the trans. While you're doing this, you do want to jack up the trans too, so the engine is leveled, so that way it will pop out easier. You have to clear out the engine mounts. So after that, what I usually do is just run a chain through under the intake manifold. It's enough space to clear a chain through there. Hook it up and then tie it to the cherry picker. Usually what most people do is take off the intake manifold, but that's a lot of work. So, and then they just bolt down the chains to the head itself or the block. And then she's ready to come out. Okay, I got it hooked up to the cherry picker. For these smaller engines, you really want to go with like a 1 ton or 1.5 ton. It just makes more room for you to get in there. So I got it hooked up under the intake manifold, jacked up the transmission just a little bit, and you can already see it splitting right there. Just give it a couple of shakes, and then this thing will pop right out and just pick it on out. And that's about it. You're pretty much pulling the motor on a Subaru. Super simple, super easy. I'm pretty sure this is pretty universal to almost anything that you're messing with, except a turbo. Turbo, you got to take off downpipe, turbo, intake, manifold. It's a little easier. You're dealing with a bigger motor, so we'll get to that later. I have a STI down there. I spun a rod bearing, but I'll show you guys what's up with this. Just like that, she's out. You really just gotta fiddle with it up and down for it to go and stuff like that. You have to jack up the trans and everything, just shake it out. If you've already taken an engine out, if it's already been taken out once before, it'll be easier the second time. But don't be discouraged when you first take it out and it's never been apart from the transmission, because it can and will be tough. I had to smack this thing with a hammer, get a wedge or a screwdriver in here just to separate from the transmission. But engine's out. I'm gonna put a new clutch in it. I'll probably do a video on that too. And there you go. Your Subaru motor is out. Super easy, super simple. And when you put these on, you want to avoid the gas lines. Don't go under the gas lines, the fuel lines, because you will bend them. But like that, she's out. You can do simple stuff. I'm gonna put a clutch in it. And that's it. Thank you guys for staying.